Hey everyone, welcome into Esports Go. I'm Matt Brown.
And I'm Justin Gillerman. We're starting with the Overwatch League today, and it's fifth week of matches, ending stage one. And in our matchup of the day, we saw a tussle that had major playoff implications. A win by the Seoul Dynasty would almost certainly secure their spot in the top three, but if the Valiant could pull off the big win, then they could find their way in. It was a big matchup, and let's head to the highlights and see who came out on top.
We're heading to Map 3, Oasis. The Valiant took Map 1, and the teams drew on Map 2, putting the Dynasty in a must-win situation. In Round 1, the Dynasty take the map as the Valiant take it to 99% thanks to excellent play by Ryu Jaeha. In defense of the point, Fleta controls the skies and takes out Agilities. It looks as though the Dynasty will be able to hold this until the end of the game, but a resurrected Agilities takes his revenge on Fleta. The Valiant take back control of the point and take Round 1. Round 2 is a constant back and forth. The Valiant take control from the Dynasty at 70%, but the Dynasty retake control when the Valiant hit 99%. The Valiant need a big push if they hope to retake the point. Soon lands a Graviton Surge that sucks up the Dynasty. Unko fires his laser into the pile of the Dynasty players. The Valiant take the point and the victory. They will go on to win the next map, ending with a 3-0 win over the Dynasty.
Oh man, Matt, this Valiant knows how to spice up the playoff race. 3-0 defeat of the Dynasty, and they look to be in control most of the game. Obviously, Fleta did his thing as usual, kept the Dynasty going, but soon went neck and neck with him. And at the end of the day, the Valiant won because they saved their ults for their big fights. And the Dynasty were too aggressive with theirs, and it ended up coming back to haunt them in the end.
Justin, I honestly don't know what the Dynasty are trying to do. Recently, it seems like they've been purposely changing their strategy from match to match, and whether it's finding the right lineup or outthinking their opponent, whatever they're doing, it's not working. Now for the Valiant, they just shook things up a bit. Remember, the top three teams go into the Stage 1 playoff, and Seoul was third place going into yesterday. So the Valiant have tied themselves with Seoul at 6-3, and will be very interested in today's matchups to see if the Uprising, Fusion, and Outlaws can stay in contention. Next up, let's look back at a match that pit a couple of 3 and 5 teams against each other. The Gladiators and Shock are both on the outside looking into the Stage 1 playoff scene, so here's what they had to show for it.
The Shock are up one map and attacking first on Horizon Lunar Colony. Baby Bay sets himself up for a nice Dragon Blade on the Gladiators' backline and is immediately shut down. The Shock never have a good attack on point A, and the Gladiators' defense is too strong, and the Shock are only able to get 2 ticks. The Gladiators' attack is fast and quick, electing to go 2 tanks and a Doomfist instead of their usual 3-tank composition. Hydration punches his way into the Shock, spreading them out. He falls, but the Gladiators easily take out the remaining Shock members. The Gladiators take point A and the victory on map 2. The Gladiators will go on to win the next 2 maps, ending the day with a 3-1 victory over the Shock.
Justin, this was a good bounce back for the Gladiators after their 4-0 loss to the Uprising last week. For the Shock, this shows how much they need Sinatra and Super. Yeah. Those 2 players will be coming in Stage 2. San Francisco has been playing without key pieces, and it looks that way.
I think the deciding factor for this one was the way the Gladiators played with their backs against the wall. When they needed to hold a point, they really stopped the Shock's momentum. They played their best Overwatch and probably their best communication, and they used their ults to perfection. And on the Shock, they put their foot on the gas, winning that first map, but just couldn't get over the top and break down that Senji defense of the Gladiators. Now, our first matchup of the day was between 2 teams out of the playoff hunt, but it was a match that could create an identity for either the Fuel or the Dragons going into Stage 2. Let's see who found some momentum in the first match of Week 5.
We start the highlight on map 1, Eichenwald. The Dragons attack first, and Dia catches the Fuel by surprise, barraging them down from the air to secure the first checkpoint. Undead keeps the Fuel at bay at the last bend to secure an easy victory. And on the Fuel assault, Seagull tries to barrage the Dragons, but Dia shows him how it's done and takes him out instead. The Dragons look as though they will be able to stop the Fuel, but a self-destruct from Mickey scatters them, and the Fuel are able to make it to point 2. Seagull lands a team-wiping Dragon Blade on the last bend, and the Dragons are not able to recover. The Fuel push the payload to the end. Now the Dragons have a chance to answer. If they get 1 tick on point A, they win the map. A Fuel hook gone wrong allows the Dragons to team wipe the Fuel, and they easily take point A and map 1. The Dragons and Fuel split the rest of the maps, meaning we have to go to a tiebreaker on Lijiang Tower. Round 1 is easily taken by the Fuel, but round 2 is much closer. The Dragons try to defend their point with a Graviton Surge, but there are too many offense heroes down to utilize this opportunity. The Fuel take that point. The Dragons are able to get it back and need one last defense to take the win. Dia separates the Fuel and with an ice wall, and the Dragons are able to take out the Fuel one by one. The Dragons will win round 2. It all comes down to the final round. Dallas starts off strong and immediately wipes out the Dragons on the point. The Dragons are never able to gain back the point, and they bring it to overtime, and Dia gets off a nice barrage but is taken out before he can do too much damage. The Fuel win on Lijiang Tower. They beat the Dragons with a 3-2 victory.
So this matchup was pretty entertaining, actually.
Yeah.
The Dragons struggled at times, but then looked really good. The Fuel struggled at times, but then they looked good on certain maps. Shanghai probably looked smoother than they have all year, and for Dallas, to me, it was the same old story. Inconsistency, and it came down to Lijiang Tower. Which team was able to make the key adjustments and win? That was the Fuel, preventing the Dragons from their first win with a bold tactic of a quad tank strategy on that last map.
Definitely a bold move with that tactic, and I think the Fuel are actually similar to the Seoul Dynasty because of their constant changing of their team's play. Dallas performs inconsistently because it looks like they strategize inconsistently. Fortunately, their game plan in the 5th map worked, but they still could have a long way to go. For Shanghai, this was a good improvement. It shows that they can get close to a win. And of course, getting close to a win isn't winning, but I say that this is good because the fact that reinforcements are on their way. Geguri, rumored to be the first woman to sign a league contract, she's great as a tank, is one of the potential new Korean teammates that can get them over the hump. Now, switching over to our heroes and zeros for the day, my vote is going to Harry Hook of the Dallas Fuel. The man played a great game and had some insane Zenyatta plays to help secure objectives during the game and during the tiebreaker map.
That's a good one. But my pick for hero of the day is going to be Soon of the Los Angeles Valiant. The man could not be stopped. The Dynasty, no answer for his aggressive play.
Now, speaking of Soon, our zero has to be the Dynasty on Dorado. Watch this. Soon sneaks over to the payload and nearly brings it to the end, and it completely disorients the Dynasty, and the Valiant capitalized on that to win the game. We'll take a quick break. Stay right there. You're watching The Go. Welcome back to Esports Go. The fastest growing esports organization has partnered with a staple in the gaming industry. KSV Esports announced their 2-year sponsorship deal with Razer yesterday. KSV burst onto the scene in the summer of 2017 when the startup venture purchased the rights to the Seoul Dynasty in the Overwatch League and filled their roster with the successful Lunatic High team. Then KSV ended the last year by acquiring the League of Legends world champion Samsung Galaxy Squad. Now their teams will exclusively use Razer equipment if they hadn't been already, as the gaming brand is an established leader in the business. This deal cements KSV's place as one of the top organizations in the esports world.
Optic Gaming has announced their 2018 CSGO roster that sees the team going international. Shazam and Stanislav will be the 2 players from North America on the team, and they will be joined by European players Config, Cajun B, and Gade to play on the international scene. Stanislav has been inactive for the past 3 months, but brings experience with Optic after winning 3 events before leaving in February of 2017. Config and Cajun B joined the team after being benched by the North American team after not winning a single game in the Boston Major, while Gade enters as the player with the least experience while playing with North Academy the last 10 months before joining Optic. Shazam joins the team after being released by Misfits after a poor showing in the Boston Major as well. And the lineup comes days after the team announced it has released Maxwell and that Magix has been acquired by Astralis. The team will have a quick turnaround as the squad of 5 will begin in the North America region on February 13th as the ESL Pro League Season 7 begins.
Intel Extreme Masters finished a StarCraft 2 tournament in Pyeongchang, South Korea. The winner was Sasha Scarlett Hostin. She's one of the top earning female esports players in the world. But the Canadian might have won this for esports as a whole, as this preceded the Winter Olympic Games, which start today. The Olympics sponsored the event, as well as broadcasted it globally on the Olympic Channel. The success of this mixed-gender event could be a step in the right direction for esports to reach the Olympics. The International Olympic Committee has been leaning towards more mixed-gender sports, which esports fits under since the IOC also recognized it as an official sport just a few months ago. Scarlet's win capped off a successful event, and it may be a jumpstart to having esports in the Olympics. Coming up after the break, we'll preview today's Overwatch League matches. Stay right here. You're watching The Go. Welcome back, this is The Go. Let's take a look at today's Overwatch League matches. The Philadelphia Fusion and Boston Uprising lead it off at 2 p.m. Pacific time, two teams that are in the mix for a top 3 placement. However, if this game is as close as we think it will be, it will only hurt the winner. If the winner of this match eventually has a tie for 3rd place, then the first tiebreaker will be cumulative map differential. The closer this match is, the worse the playoff chances get for these two teams.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. The two teams vying for that 3rd playoff spot in Stage 1. Both kind of sitting currently on a different story. Fusion have won 3 of their last 4, but have looked shaky at times, not winning all their maps, while the Uprising won 4 in a row and have looked super impressive doing it. Boston just needs to have Striker and Dream Casper do their thing as DPSs, and I think Boston will take their 5th in a row and have that playoff push. Now in our second matchup of the day, the New York XL look to clinch their spot in the playoffs going against the Florida Mayhem, looking to create some chemistry going into Stage 2. Expect the XL to tinker with their lineup a little bit, and the Mayhem kind of just get ready for Stage 2 to get that new sub back in.
Yeah, Zappis is coming, and New York is the perfect example of using a sub as the perfect specialist. Pine has come in to dominate Map 3 for the XL almost every match. So let's see if Florida can find a comfortable place for Zappis to fit in without having to use him in this upcoming match. They need to be able to have a seamless transition for Zappis to come in the next stage. Last but certainly not least, we got a potential heavyweight bout. The London Spitfire taking on the Houston Outlaws. Both teams are very much in the hunt for the playoffs, and both teams are primed for a signature win.
Yeah, this is the big one for the week, for me at least. The Spitfire sitting pretty comfortable with only 1 loss, but a loss here to the Outlaws pushes them into a must-win match against arguably the best team in the league. With the win here, the Outlaws put the pressure on the people above them, including the Spitfire. And we may possibly see the Spitfire miss out on the playoffs if they lose to the Outlaws today, which would be a crazy story.
Ooh, really good slate of matches today. Hope you enjoy it. For more esports coverage, go to our website, challengemedia.tv.
Also, check us out and follow us on Facebook and Twitter as well. We'll be here all week with your news and highlights. Thanks for watching Esports Go. We'll see you next time.